Naaalala ko pa ang mga panahong masaya akong nag-aaral sa JRI. Marahil masasabi ko na sa tuwing ako'y bumibisita sa aming paaralan, marami na ang nagbago sa istruktura nito. Ang malalapad na kahoy na nagmistulang haligi ng aming classroom, ngayon ay bato na. Ang malawak na lupang aming nilalakaran noon at nagiging pahingahan, ngayon ay sementado na. 83 taon nang naglilingkod ang aming mahal na paaralan. Tinatangkilik, pinaniniwalaan, at minamahal. Ang bilis ng panahon, ngunit magdaan man ang ilang dekada, makaranas man ng mga unos sa buhay, at lumipas man ang panahon ng ating kasaysayan. Ang Jose Rizal Institute ay mananatiling nakatindig at pinangangatawanan ang kanyang pangako. Natutupad siya sa kanyang pananaw at tatahak sa isang direksyon. Ang bigyan ng matatag na kinabukasan ang mga kabataan na siyang magiging kalasag upang itayo ang lugmok na bayan. Sa pamamagitan ng JRI, ang nakaraan, ang pangarap, ang mga kabataan ay magiging isa at ang tagumpay ay magiging abot kamay. Rizalian ako, Pilipino ako.
Isang bagsak, dalawang bagsak, tatlong bagsak. So we do that in memory of the past, the present, and the future.
I am ecstatic to be here tonight celebrating the 15th anniversary of the creation of the Kababayan Learning Community.
Na, 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 na. I love you, I need you to hold me every night. And when you're feeling lonely, girl, I'll be by your side. I'll tell you that I love you so. I'll hold you and never let you go. Tell me your love belongs to me, and I love you honestly.
My name's Nina Floro. I'm a professor of English at Skyline College. I am connected with the Kababayan program because in 1993, an EOPS counselor and I, Jeff Asadera, recognized that there was a need for Skyline College Filipino students to have a program to support their needs.
I'll cover you. We are alone. I'll give you love like you never know. Tell me your love belongs to me, and I love you honestly.
So we decided to create the Kababayan mentorship program. That's what it was called back then. We really had a rough start getting it started. It slowed down quite a bit, and I was asked shortly after that to take it a step further, but I could not carry on with the commitment at that time, and I believe there was a gap until Liza came on.
I'll cover you. We are alone. I'll give you love like you never know. Tell me your love belongs to me, and I love you honestly.
We've got the connection made right behind us. The ocean, connecting the communities, the Skyline College, Kababayan learning community to the Philippines.
And I love you honestly.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, everyone. My name is Rizal,
My name is Patricia.
and we are going to be your co-host today for this event. Okay, to start things off, we're going to have Dr. Liza speak up about the learning community as well as FSU.
Thank you, Jairil and Patricia. And thank you, everyone, for being here this evening and this morning. As I said, my name is Dr. Liza Rapello. I've been the coordinator of the Kababayan Learning Community since 2003. And as you saw in the video, it started before I even got there. And basically, what we do at the Kababayan Learning Community is that we focus on the Filipino-American experience. And we do that by using culturally relevant materials. So basically books that are written by and about us. And so you don't usually see that. So a lot of folks, students that I've worked with over the years have not seen themselves in textbooks. And there's definitely power in that when you see your own identity in those texts. From the Kababayan Learning Community, the students were like, well, we want to do something more, outside the classroom. And so the students were the ones who came up with the Filipinx Student Union the following year, because they wanted to take what they learned and bring it out to the community, right? And also kind of to teach the younger generations. And this has been going on now. So we're going on year 18, I think, of Kababayan. And, we're old enough to have our own debut now, I think. But what's been beautiful about this is that it's very student-centered, student-centered learning and student-centered leadership, as you see with this, because this entire, what this activity that's happening tonight is a result of the students coming up with the idea of having this international event. So I'm very proud of everyone for this, and really excited to see what you all will come up with. And we're very thankful that you're all here today. So thank you all. Have a great event today.
Okay, so the next person that we will be thanking and would be introducing themselves would be the principal and headmaster of Rizal Institute, Orani, and her name's going to be Mrs. Alicia H. Valencia.
Hi there, good day everyone. From all of us here in the Philippines, we are delighted to be with our partners today, the Kababayan Learning Community, Filipinx Student Union, and the Skyline College. Truly, it is an honor to be with you all. I'm Alice Valencia, Rizal Institute's principal, and I'm proud to say that I am an alumna of this institution. I have worked for a long time here in this school, and in fact, some of our student participants' parents were my students back in time, including Sir Zeke. Let me introduce our beloved school to you all. Jose Rizal Institute is located in the town of Orani, in one of the most historical and beautiful provinces in the Philippines, the province of Bataan. It is named after our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. This is the oldest school in Orani. In fact, we have just celebrated our 83rd founding anniversary 2 weeks ago. So Jose Rizal Institute is 83 years old. There are several public and private secondary schools in Orani. However, Jose Rizal Institute has the biggest population among these private schools. One thing we are most proud of at JRI, which stands for Jose Rizal Institute, is our alumni. Many of them are making their names or becoming well known, not just in the Philippines, but also internationally. It is because the Rizal Institute shapes and molds our graduates by delivering best value quality education, enabling them to become globally competitive and meet not just the challenges here in the Philippines, but also the challenges in the fast changing world. If I may give you a few proofs of this successful JRI alumni, we have an alumnus who is in LA as a well-known fashion designer, an alumnus who is a financial analyst in Silicon Valley there in Northern California, an alumna who is one of the title holders in Mrs. Globe International, another one who is a renowned chef in Germany, and of course, a Fulbright scholar assigned there at Skyline College in the person of Mr. Zeke, and many others. Here at the Rizal Institute, students are prepared not only academically, but also physically, spiritually, and ethically. Resilience, our students frequently participate in curricular events and competitions in English, science, mathematics, and information and communications technology. Apart from academic competitions, Resilience often win in choral and sports competitions. Unfortunately, this time our chance to join competitions limited because of the pandemic. But it is true that there are reasons for everything that is happening. Who knows, if it hadn't been the case, we might not have ended up having this well-intentioned activity. So despite the fact that the situation is different and there is negativity all around, the Lord has provided us with the opportunity to experience this get-together for a good cause, for a good purpose. I also hope that this is not the end, but rather the start of a positive partnership between the two institutions whose first concern is the students' well-being. Thank you so much. Be safe and God bless us all from all of us here, Jose Rizal Institute. Thank you.
And thank you so much for your warm welcome. Next up, we are going to introduce Ezekiel John Recto, our Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant here at Skyline College for the Kababayan Learning Community. He's also the Assistant Principal at the Jose Rizal Institute in Orani, Bataan.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia and Jairo. Magandang umaga, Pilipinas! Good evening, America, and good day, world. I want to bring the glory back to God for this blessing of having you guys, all of you, not only in this Zoom room, but basically in my life. This is just so amazing, and I just can't express how elated I am to be with you tonight, even through Zoom. And I just want to take this moment to quickly acknowledge the following organizations and group of people that have made this program possible. Of course, the Fulbright program, because if not for the Fulbright program, there wouldn't be a Fulbright FLTA program, and I wouldn't be here in the US. I'd like to thank my colleagues from Fulbright Philippines and Fulbright FLTA Commission in the Philippines. Sir Joseph is here. He's zooming in from the University of Michigan, and I believe it's 9:20 p.m. now but he's here. Thank you so much, sir. My Skyline College folks, Kababayan Learning Community, Patricia, our FSU president, Cheska Delore, our KLC counselor, thank you so much. Dr. Raju Desai, our Filipino professor, the Filipinx Student Union, JRI students, faculty, and administration, thank you so much. And some of the JRI alumni that are here. I'm so proud of everybody. And this just looks, I mean, this is a big deal for us and for all of us, but it's an even bigger deal because if you see the world around us, there's so much chaos. There's so much, there's so much chaos. There's so much misunderstanding. And we are in this event right now trying to bridge those cultural gaps and to establish more understanding, more mutual understanding between the Filipino communities of California, of the United States, and the Philippines. And I believe events like this lead to lasting peace, not only in one country, but between countries in the world. So I'm really happy with everyone being here. I'm so proud of everybody for being in this venture with all of us. And thank you all. Hope you enjoy yourselves tonight or this morning or this noon, wherever you guys are in the world. God bless you all.
So we're going to be moving on to the next part of our event, which is going to be the economic part.
My name is Ariana Kagang, and this is my presentation on the economics in America. So these are the 4 topics that I'm going to be covering, which is average spending, major industries, cost of living, and then socioeconomic status. Average spending, how much is spent on an average? And I did monthly for this one. First, I'm going to talk about the minimum wage. And the California minimum wage is about $15 an hour, which is $31,200 annually. And this varies in different cities and states. And then the average minimum wage in the US, like the federal minimum wage, is at least $7.25, which is about $15,000 annually. And then the median household income for an average Filipino household among Filipinos in the US would be $90,400 every year. So how much do students spend every month? Students spend about $20 every month. And for community college students, transportation is already about $1,760. And students use $413 every academic year for course materials. And student loan debt on average is about $37,584. And I'm going to talk about the cost of living and compare it to living in San Francisco, like Bay Area, versus compared to the whole country of the United States. For groceries, it's about $116 every month, and then health insurance is $100. Housing is $596, utilities $97, transportation $158, and then miscellaneous items would be $120. And compare that to the United States, groceries are about $100, as well as health, housing, utilities, transportation, and other miscellaneous. Major industries, like most popular work industries among Filipino-Americans. So that would be 43% in management, business, science, and arts, 23% in service occupations, 19% are in sales, and then 12% are in production, transportation, and logistics. And socioeconomic status, what's the impact of socioeconomic status? Among Asian Americans in the United States, Filipino Americans are the lowest in socioeconomic and employment status. So this leads to Filipinos being a high-risk group for mental disorders, and it's higher than most Asian Americans because it's the cultural tendency to deny or endure emotional problems rather than asking for help. And before, there was a lack of mental health care access for Filipinos. And that was my presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and good evening to our friends there in California. I am Tricia Nicole A. Santos, a grade 12 Humanities and Social Sciences student.
And I am Roisa A. Salinas, a grade 12 student from the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Chan.
We are one of your presenters for today, and we are going to talk about the Philippine economy. But to give you a preview of our presentation, here are the questions that we will discuss and answer for today. First, what are the major industries in the Philippines? Second, what is the cost of living in the Philippines? And last, how does average spending compare to the minimum wage? We hope that you will learn a lot about the Philippine economy after our presentation. For now, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Trisha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Luisa. So now let us proceed to the major industries in the Philippines. So the major industries in the Philippines today are agriculture, tourism, and the online business industry. These three are some of the major industries that will emphasize the culture, the beauty of our country, and the way Filipinos live their lives. Next, first let us talk about the agriculture. Farming is one of the earliest forms of livelihood in the Philippines. Coconut oils, bananas, pineapple, mangoes comprise the 71% of the agricultural export of our country. Next slide, please. While the rice is one of the most important products in the agriculture industry, for it became part of Filipino culture. We are Filipinos. We love rice. I know a lot of you will relate to this, especially those who have Filipino parents or relatives. During breakfast, lunch, or dinner, there is always this plate or bowl of rice lying in the middle of the table, and they will always say, "Anak, can you pass me the rice? Anak, can you pass me the kanin?" Because for them, rice is what makes up a meal. Now let's move on to the tourism industry. So Philippines is rich when it comes to natural beauty and projecting the mother nature. In 2019, the Philippines travel and tourism industry contributed 12.7% of the country's gross domestic product. Next slide, please. Now, let's have a little game. It is called the gibberish. The mechanics are I am going to show you some phrases that makes no sense at all, and you will need to read it constantly to guess the right word or answer. Here's a clue. The answers on the questions are the tourist spots here in the Philippines. Are you all ready? Let me call on my partner, Luisa, to present the first one. Luisa.
Next slide po, please. So the first gibberish phrase is Ban and Way Writers Recess. So this is a Philippine tourist spot. So what do you think this is? May I call on V. Rochelle UC?
It's Banawe Rice Terraces.
Is it Banawe Rice Terraces? Well, is it the right answer? Let's see. Next slide, please. Correct. It is the Banawe Rice Terraces. Also, if you watch the Avengers Infinity Game, at the end scene of the movie where Thanos can be seen walking out of the sleepy hut while watching the sunset, the location in that scene was actually the Banawe Rice Terraces in the Philippines. The second one, please.
The second one is Puerto Prince Sarah Underground River. So what do you think this Philippine tourist spot is? May I now call on Ronald Jose Bunsoy?
Is it Puerto Princesa Underground River?
Is it Puerto Princesa Underground River? Let's see. Filipinos love both physical and online shopping. We have Shopee and Lazada. These are the Filipino versions of Amazon and eBay where we buy and sell things. Next slide. Also, nowadays, Filipinos, especially teenagers, were addict when it comes to buying online. They will always say, deserve ko naman to, kaya ko to bibilin, which means I deserve this, so I will buy it. Especially when something great happened to them, they take it as a reward for them. Next slide, please. So next question is, what is the cost of living in the Philippines? So next and first, the rent or the house. So the typical rent in the Philippines can cost up to 1,500 to 28,000 a month, or $30 to $560. Next slide. But the 94% of the household in the Philippines are commonly made up of extended family members. Filipinos have close family ties. We are family oriented. I know that if you live in America, you have a responsibility to move out. But here in the Philippines, you don't have to, even when you are 20 or 52 years old. Even I, who live in a province, I live in Bataan, Philippines, I still live with my parents and other family members, even though I am already 18 years old and has a choice to move out. But I still choose to live with my family because it is more practical that way. Next, the salary. So we all know that Filipinos are one of the most hardest working and versatile people in the world. And that is why even the pandemic started and the unemployment rate increases, Filipinos kadiskartehan help them through. When we say madiskarte, it is resourceful. That is why even though pandemic has struck, we still find ways to earn money to support our family. Next slide, please. Next is that transportation. In the Philippines, there's a lot of means of transportation. We have tricycles, we have jeepneys. These are the most typical means of transportation. This is also where you will experience all kinds of people. And when I say all kinds of people, let me show you some of them. Next slide, please. There is this PDA or public display of affection couple who loves flirting with each other. Then there is also the lay your head on my shoulder people. These are commonly students, teachers, or anyone has a work, going home, fell asleep with the person beside him or her because of tiredness. Then there is also the siksik pa more. These are the passengers, whether they like it or not, push themselves in the already sardines-like jeepneys because they have no choice. And the last one is the 1, 2, 3. I admit it. I have done it before. It is when you maybe forgot your money at home, so you don't pay for the fare. Poor manong driver. The fare in these public transportations depends on the distance, but it is typically starting from 26 cents. Now let me give the floor to my partner Ruisa to continue the following topics and discussion. Ruisa?
Thank you, Trisha. Now let us move on to the cost of the utilities in the Philippines. Next slide, please. So the Philippine power rates remain one of the highest in Southeast Asia, and it is actually at par with the level of power rates in Singapore. And in Metro Manila, you can easily spend 5,000 pesos or $100 per month for the utilities, and this includes the air conditioner, lights, gadget charging, TV, and hot water. And the water bill in the Philippines is around 256 pesos or $5 per month. But you know, despite the expensive cost of utilities in the Philippines, Filipinos just magically finds a way to pay for all their bills. You know, based on my experience, I am actually amazed at how my mother budgets our monthly resources for food, electricity bills, water bills, and other expenses. Maybe, you know, Filipinos are really just born to be madiskarte. Next slide po, please. So when it comes to food, let me give a glimpse of Philippine cuisine that you can find on the streets. You can try foods in a tusok-tusok stand or street food stalls in the Philippines where you can find foods like isaw, betamax, or dugo, kwek-kwek, next slide, fishball, and of course, how can I even forget to add this on the list? The famous Philippine balot. I am not sure if you find this food I'm not sure if you find this food pleasing to the eyes, but I guarantee you that these are must-try foods that you must try if you ever plan to go to the Philippines. So, next slide po. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, when it comes to life expectancy rates, the Philippines has a life expectancy rate of 69.3 years, same as the Indonesia, and Myanmar and India have lower expectancy rates than the Philippines, while Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore all have higher expectancy rates, which we can see that Singapore has the highest life expectancy rate among the given list, which is equal to 82.9 years. Next slide, please. So moving on to the final question. How does average spending compare to the minimum wage? Next slide. In the Philippines, we have two minimum wage. We have the capital wage and the provincial wage. The capital wage amounts to 537 pesos or $10.33, and we can find this capital wage in the Metro Manila since it is the capital of the Philippines, while the provincial wage amounts to 420 pesos or $8.05 per day. And the province of Bataan has lower minimum wage rates since we are in a province compared to Metro Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines. Next slide po, please. An average Filipino worker spends around 250 to 400 pesos or $4.79 to $7.66 a day, which is almost half of their minimum wage already. and this covers their expenses for food and transportation on a normal working day. Other Filipino workers who serve as the breadwinners of their family try much harder to limit their expenses in a day, but as you see, the minimum wage is clearly lower or insufficient than the actual spending of average Filipino workers. But as Trisha has said before, Filipinos are madiskarte. So here are some alternatives that they do to lessen their expenses. Next slide. To avoid spending much money on food, they pack home-cooked meals instead or buy lunch from the nearest karinderya, a local eatery in the Philippines. In a karinderya, you can buy ulam and kanin for a cheap price. The karinderya even gives free sabaw or soup to their customers. Even in our school canteens, when face-to-face classes were still being held, you can hear students eating lunch in the canteen saying, "Ate, kuya, sabaw nga po." Because you know what? That sabaw makes every meal extra special. Next slide po, please. Yes, here are the foods that you can find in a karinderya. Next slide. So the average spending still varies from household to household since everyone has different needs and lifestyle to fulfill. And in today's situation, workers have called for an increase in their wages. However, the Philippines is still starting to get back on its feet and stabilize the country's economy, which was, of course, heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide. But you know what? Despite the ongoing pandemic right now, one thing's for sure. Filipinos will always find a way to survive and give their families a comfortable life. That is all for our presentation about the Philippine economy. Once again, I am Ruisa A. Salinas.
And I am Trisha Nicolay Santos. We hope that you learned a lot from our presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you so much for that wonderful and informal presentation.
Ang bawat bantayog na gaya nito, paalala sa mga nangyari noong lumipas, kumakatawan sa mga tao at nangyaring dapat nating ikarangal.
Mapanganib ang ating tatahakin. Pero hindi dapat tayo matakot. Kahit sa kamatayan. Isipin natin tayo'y malakas, matibay, at makapangyarihan. Tayo ang kataas-taasang, kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. Kulang man tayo sa sandata, mas malakas man ang baril at kanyon ng mga Kastila. Lalaban tayo hanggang sa huling.
Andres Bonifacio, Supremo.
Napakarami na ang naging biktima ng mga Espanyol. At mas marami pa ang mamamatay kapag hindi natin pinigilan ang kanilang pang-aari. Sa labanang ito, isusuin natin ang ating mga buhay sa mga ito. Sisimulan na natin ang revolusyon.
Andres Bonifacio.
Ilabas ninyo ang inyong mga sedula! Pagmasdan ninyo ang munting papel na umaalipin sa ating lahat. Di tayo magpapalupig! Tayo ang magtatagumpay dahil tayo ang mga anak ng bayan. Tayo ang nagmamay-ari sa lupang ito. Sa atin ang bayan ito. Ulitin ang mga sedula nyo! Mabuhay ang katipunan! Mabuhay! Mabuhay ang revolusyon! Mabuhay! Mabuhay ang Supremo! Mabuhay!
Andres Bonifacio.
Mabuhay! Magandang araw! Ako,
Magandang buhay!
Angela May Bondok. At ako si Rizal Institute. We are grade 11 students from Rizal Institute, Orani. Do you have any ideas about education here in the Philippines? I think they have, but just a little bit. For you guys to know more about the education here, tara na at pagchikahan natin yan. Our curriculum now is K-12. Back then, it was just basic education. That's right! Naninibago nga ako eh. Oops! You guys might be wondering why we're using the word eh. It's part of our accent here in our province. Going back, before, after 4 years of studying in school, you're already considered graduate. Now, students are just moving up. I feel like it's just yesterday when we moved up. I still remember your speech nga eh. You are a competitive student. Not just me, but every Filipino student will love participating in local, regional, and even national competition, may it be academic or non-academic. That's why senior high school is a big help to us. We have academic and non-academic strands to choose from. Exactly! Moreover, Filipino students, resilient to be specific, are hardworking. This is the reason why almost every one of us has an award. Speaking of award, back then, it's just top 1 to 10. But now, everyone can have distinctions, like with honors, with honors, and with highest honors. Oh yes, but of course, it's not an easy road. There are challenges and hindrances. Money is a really big problem when it comes to studying, whether you are in public or private school. I'm right. Remember we just ate egg for recess, so we can save up money for the fair? Oo naman! I remember that. But does it matter? Of course not. Of course it won't. We are happy in school. The teaching, the extracurricular activities, and even though it's 8 hours of class, we're still enjoying it. Same, Rizal. Especially our extracurricular activities. We love those, like intramurals, the games, and the pageant. I also love our foundation days, especially when we're showing our talents, like dancing in front of the crowd and just enjoying the moment. Well, that's foundation day for you. For me, the educational tour is still the best. We can go to different places and enjoy classmates. But do you know what's the best? What? The normal days. Remember when we have written activities, we need one whole sheet of paper and our classmates would go like, "Penging papel!" We all have that one classmate who brings a whole sheet of paper and everyone else will just ask for it. Stress nga eh. Because sometimes the teacher is already saying the question and some of our classmates still don't have papers. They're going to bother you pa nga eh. Andrea, do you remember when one of our teachers allows us to open our notes for 5 seconds while taking the quiz? Everyone is shouting every second. Naalala ko yun. I can't even look for answer in my notes because of the time pressure. Another good experience is when we're doing performance tasks. We're dancing and our classmates are cheering for us. It's entertaining how we dance in front just for the sake of our grades. True! Also, one of the unforgettable moments is when we surprise our teachers on special occasions, like birthdays. We do ambagan. It is where every student will give any amount of money for gifts and cake. That's right. We don't care about the money and the tiredness we feel because we know it will be worth it once our teachers saw it already. Filipino students are really happy kids. We might face changes and challenges. Things go with the flow. Smiles never fade. And that's all. Thank you for listening to us. I hope you feel how happy we are here in the Philippines. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Next up,
we would like to welcome John Paulo. He will also be talking about education in the Filipino-American perspective. Good luck.
you got this.
Hi, good evening, good morning. My name is John Paulo. It is my pleasure to present you guys my presentation on the expectations, the experience, and how it is to go to school in the US. So to start it off, you can either go to pre-K, which is basically preschool. It's very optional. It's just to get the young kids introduced into the new school system that they're gonna have to get used to over the next 12 years. It's not In my experience, it was okay. It was just to get used to not being in the house all day and not being with my parents. It was just for my mom to let me know that this is what I'm going to have to be going through. And through kindergarten to fifth grade, they will put an emphasis on your reading skills and your math skills. They will want to make sure that you are up to skill with your reading and your writing skills, making sure that you have the proper grammar and punctuation skills to succeed in school. Same goes for your math. They will make sure that throughout the years, you will keep up to date with your addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division skills. And throughout elementary school, the biggest class you'll ever get or that I have ever experienced is a classroom of at least like 40 students. It's never been bigger than that. And it's always been taught with one teacher. And throughout this class, through those 5 years, they still made a way to make sure that we were able to have fun and play games while we were still learning because we would also have 8-hour school days. So yeah. This is usually what it would look like around the US of what an average classroom would look like. It's very interactive. They want to make sure that all the kids get a chance to answer questions, to participate, and to have fun. God, I miss those days. In middle school, it's sort of the same thing. It's just that a little of a bigger environment. They introduce more subjects into this, where of course math and English is important, but they also go into depth into US history and a little bit of world history for you. They will teach you the basic skills and facts about science. They will go over with you, biology and all that. And they will also give you an extra class called electives, where it's basically a class where you choose what you are interested to learn. It could be a different language like French or Spanish, or it could be an interactive class like dance. Middle school, it's a little bit more fun than elementary school just because this is where it starts to get bigger for you. Like you get to start having lockers, you get to join more sports teams, and then it's a rotation schedule, so you will not be in the same classroom with the same teacher over and over again. You'll have around maybe 6 to 8 classes, and then you will rotate within a specific subject to learn with a different teacher. And this is what middle school would look like for you. It's where you start to also meet a lot more people because your class grade is around 300 or 400 students in this class, in the school. So yeah. In high school, it's a whole different experience just because this is where it's basically a little world for you. You have a lot more opportunities like AP classes and honors classes is basically to improve your grades or to make yourself look better for when you start to apply to colleges. We also, it's very much more homework heavy than elementary school and middle school because your teachers really want you to understand what you're learning and the material you're given. In high school, you will also take the SAT or ACT. It is a test that lets you know, or it will test on what you basically know already, and it's to help boost your chances into getting to college. And in high school, it's a much bigger social bubble for you because there are a lot more parties going on. Sports can be taken more seriously, more school spirit, and a lot more events that go on, such as homecoming, school dances, proms, and rallies. So this is what it would look like in high school in the Philippines. I mean, in the U.S., you have a lot more people watching the sports games that go on, like basketball and football. It's a very big thing. A lot more parties going on, and then the two things that people, of course, look forward to when they go into high school is graduation and prom. It's said that those are the two events in high school that are never forgotten. The expectations that happen in high school are that the majority will go off to college, either 4-year university or a community college. College can be very expensive and some people cannot meet it financially. So they will join the military serve their 4 years, and then in return, the military will take care of the schooling and allow them to choose any school that they want to go to. And others will not go to college or school at all. They will just go straight to the working field and just work any job or start their own business if they're able to. This is the college years. So basically, this is like the tier of degrees that you can earn in college. It's from associate's degree all the way to a PhD. And basically, they can be earned as you don't have a really like a timeline for it. It's just a matter of how many classes or units you take in order to graduate and receive these degrees. And it's recommended to go higher just because according to most of the charts, it's said that the higher the degree, the more money you'll make. But in some cases, that isn't always true. So sometimes people with just an associate's degree can make as much money as people with a master's or a PhD in some cases. Then the realities and expectations that are given to you after college is that you all obtained like the job you studied for or the job that you always like dreamed of, because you know that's the whole point of going to college. You want to get that degree and then get the job that you've always been talking about. And you're expected to be independent and be your own adult. You're supposed to be financially responsible for yourself now and take care of your own needs. But in reality, some people will go back home and start living with their family again, just because in the US it's still expensive to, you know, buy your own place and take care of yourself. And, you know, some people just miss their families after spending 4 years at a different area or city. So they would want to come back home. Some people will move in with their family to save more money, or some people will just take up another job just so that they can build up their financials. And then that's when they'll start to go out pursuing their dream job. It's basically not really a rush to get where you want to be, but it's just taking your time. That's the reality of it. So yeah, thank you for my presentation.
Thank you so much, John Paulo.
As you can see, both high school students and college students have a lot more going on than just school. Living here, I for sure can tell you that extracurriculars are like really pushed onto us, and it's like really highly recommended, especially for high school students, because it's really hard to get into a four-year university with just good grades alone. So people in high school are really pushed to do something other than just taking classes. You know, some of them might go into sports or theater, just like what John Paulo was talking about. And in terms of college, a lot of college students are expected to work already because college is really expensive, and we have to go earn so that we're able to afford to go to school, as well as to be able to help our families, because our parents might not only be supporting us, but they're also supporting our siblings, or maybe we're also financially supporting family in the Philippines or someplace else. And because there's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of school, there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of extracurricular activities, it gets really difficult to find balance in the midst of all of them. So our daily life is like super hectic sometimes, especially when tests are coming up. And when I ask my friends who are in college and are also working, how do they balance their life, their time with everything that they're doing, it's really funny because the answer I got most of the time was that they don't find balance. And I totally agree with that. I think we're at the point in our lives as high school students and as college students where we're still figuring things out. We're figuring out what works for us and what doesn't work for us, and whether that means we find balance now or we find balance later. In our, at least right now, we're just going through what we're going through. We're getting done what we need to get done, and it gets exhausting and it gets unhealthy sometimes, but that is what is up in our current lives. We're just not, it's not all about like finding balance in our time, but also like responsibility, and that also comes with financial responsibilities as well. And that leads me to my next slide, which is what do Filipino-Americans spend on in terms of need and luxury? And again, this is from the perspective of the youth and the young adults, because they're the ones I asked. For need, this is what I have. We have here Skyline College. It's a need for us to be able to afford going to college. So that's a need that we spend on. Also transportation. We have gas over here and a bus over here. A lot of us are already driving, so gas money is super important. And it's super sad that gas prices are skyrocketing, but that's unfortunate. And here we also have shoes and clothes. Because we don't have school uniforms, both in high school and in college, we go to school in our own clothes. So we consider shoes and clothes as a need. And also food, because everybody loves food, and we will always and forever consider that as a need. Next up is luxury. These are what we spend on that we don't need, but we still spend money on it. I'd put shoes and clothes again for a luxury, because even though we do need them, sometimes we get too excited and we buy shoes and clothes that we might not need anymore, but we just buy it because it looks good or it's branded. I also put in subscription services like Netflix and Spotify. There's also technology. As an iPad, a lot of my friends have iPads. I have an iPad. We don't need them for school, but it is helpful. But we still don't need to have one. And of course, we have boba drinks in Starbucks and malls. I personally almost go to class every day with a Starbucks drink, and it's a luxury I enjoy but don't need. And then next up, I'm going to be talking about the social issues that Filipino Americans experience on a daily basis. And this will be different for each person. And we don't experience a lot of this, I guess, in Daly City or in like the Bay Area, because it is such a diverse area. But if you travel just a few hours to the next city or the next state, you won't exactly see the same kind of diverseness that we have here. And it's really going to be hard to find a fellow Filipino just around the corner. There's a lot of things that we experience, but these are like one of the most prominent one, I think. We are really grouped up with other Asians or nationalities such as Chinese, Koreans, or Vietnamese. It's as if like Asia is just one big country and is not built up of multiple countries. And I think that's really sad, because Filipinos are not exactly seen as Filipinos or Filipino-Americans. And from experience, when I tell people that I'm from the Philippines, or when I told people when I'm from the Philippines when I was younger, they wouldn't really know what Philippines is or where it is, and they wouldn't know what a Filipino is. And I would be called other names instead of Filipino. And I couldn't really do anything before but ignore it, because I was younger. And at that point, I think I experienced enough that even I believed that being Filipino was bad. But I'm glad that I grew out of it, though. There's also the stereotyping. people say, oh, Filipinos are smart. Oh, you're Filipino, then you must want to be a nurse. Oh, you're Filipino, then you must be good at singing, things like that. Which, not all of them are bad, but once it really gets to you, you realize that you aren't allowed to be anything else in their eyes, aside from what they expect you to see or how they see you as. And I'm glad that now there's a lot more organizations like the Kababayan Learning Community or the FSU that's really bring people together so that more people are aware that, hey, we're Filipino, we're our own thing, and we're doing a lot of things that should be recognized. And that is it for daily lives for me. Salamat sa pakinig po. Thank you for listening. Good night and good morning.
Thank you, Princess, for sharing your experience with us and being vulnerable about your story. We definitely learned a lot and gained a lot of insight with what you said. Next up, we would like to introduce the JRI students, Venice and Doily.
Hi everyone! Magandang buhay! I see beautiful faces here Kamusta naman kayo dyan mga Mars? How are you guys doing? I hope you feel well and healthy, right Doylene?
I agree. You're all looking fresh today. I am nervous right now, but needless to say, it's an honor for me to be a part of this symposium.
I feel exactly the same. Maybe it's because it is our first time joining a program like this. Anyway, please allow me to introduce myself. I am Venice Bautista, but you can call me Ven for short. My friends used to call me that. I am a 16-year-old grade 10 student from Rizal Institute, and I am beyond happy to be part of this Intercultural Symposium. Also, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and have some fun.
Hi, I'm Doyle Noel Delda, also 16 years old. Call me whatever is suitable for you, Doy or Noel. I am also hoping to get to know you guys. What makes us different and the same. And of course, while we're at it, let's try to have some fun. So let's start, shall we?
So everyone, have you ever wondered what a typical Filipino does with their free time?
No, we almost don't buy anything. We're actually stingy, especially our parents. They tell us, no, anak, we don't have money, almost every day. And the next day you find yourself receiving 3 parcels addressed to them. Now you wonder to yourself, where did the money go, ma?
Yes, you're right for the most part.
That's on Filipino parent culture. But actually, you guys, we unanimously agreed on something, food.
Absolutely. A lot of us actually see it as a necessity and a luxury. The act of preparing, consuming, or even purchasing food. Filipinos enjoy eating as much as they enjoy trying new things. Not to brag, but Asian cuisine, particularly Philippine cuisine, is the one thing that you can't miss. You must try if you haven't before.
The richness of our culture mainly features food. Filipinos are known to be hospitable and generous that gets to the point of outrageousness, even outside the country. We're so galante, it's overbearing because we always find time to show how festive we are.
We sure are. Now, let's proceed to the game. The instruction is just take the words literally and you'll find out the answer.
And you can join the facilitators, student from Skyline and JRI. Just raise your hand or send a message on the chat box. Don't worry, it should be a piece of cake for you. Okay, on to the first item. Can you guess? Yes, you're correct, lechon. It's roasted pig that is served almost on every grand occasion. But for the many people who love eating lechon, just don't let it spike your cholesterol, okay? Let's move on to the next item.
How about my favorite dessert? Wow. Yummy. Halo halo. Let's buy one later. Why do I suddenly crave for our famous halo halo? By the way, friends, do you have or have you tried halo halo before? If not, then why not visit the Philippines? Let's see each other soon.
Next, we have... Okay, now we have pancit for our menu. Have you tried it? There are many types of pancit, so I can't really say what its real essence is, but I think you guys could add shrimp, meat if you like, and throw in some vegetables. But anyway, thank you for participating. Hey Ben, do you remember the fun stuff from face-to-face classes? Let's reminisce with these videos.
How could I forget? After classes, we go to the Plaza Food Court with our friends to buy merienda. And we'll have a little chica or a little chit chat before heading home. I miss good old days. Right, Eileen?
You're not the only one. It was a solid time. But sadly, we haven't overcome the pandemic. So we'll just have to wait for our reunion. And aside from our own stories, let's move on to the daily lives of Filipino students.
Of course, I think you all are familiar with jeepneys and tricycles. Good thing about them is that they can stop anywhere. You won't have to walk to the nearest stop.
Filipino students are dedicated to their studies. We would have gone to school by jeepneys or tricycles as early as 7 a.m. and would have returned home until late because we have a lot of subjects to take.
But it doesn't even end there. We continue to work on our academics until late at home. That beats 9 to 5.
Amen to that, assignments, but let's not put the tough parts down the drain.
I agree. Let's go down to the business with the realities of life in the Philippines.
Are you guys familiar with the word conservatism? We have that not only in the Philippines, but different parts of the world.
It actually rooted from the Spaniards colonizing our country way back 1521 and lasted for 333 years.
Yes, so naturally, Spanish culture is integrated somehow in our day-to-day lives too.
Philippines is also known for having a very conservative culture, although it's not a bad thing, but sometimes it can be too much.
You know, women in the Spanish colonization wear barot saya, as you can see on the slide. Next slide, please. They show little to no skin. We wear this in performances that display history. Back then, we had this notion that women are supposed to be protected and at all times look respectable. Unlike today, we can wear basically whatever we want. Streetwear, formal wear, sportswear, casual wear, anything actually.
But this isn't always the case. There are still some parents that are very conservative, especially to their children, like my mom. Whenever I wear clothes that are a bit showy, she would say, "Ang sexy-sexy naman. Di naman ako ganyan magsuot dati. Napaka-conservative ko kaya. Anak pa talaga kita?" Or, "That's too revealing. I didn't normally dress like that when I was your age. I'm a really conservative person." Well, we are the total opposites. But still, she supports me in my endeavors. As long as I am happy, she's the best. Wakey, wakey! Are you guys still with us? Char, we know naman that you all are still listening. How about we move on to our last topic?
This one's for the girls and the gays and the non-binary pals. Hey there, are you familiar with this gingerbread man? I agree, it's a broad spectrum. A lot of Filipinos haven't grasped the concept of sexuality, especially the boomers, often mistaking one term with the other. That's why in this country, you might hear some homophobic remarks and experience discrimination.
Religion, misinformation, the environment we grew up in can be a factor because we have different interpretations. But also, some choose to reject the idea of being educated about the whole, embracing your most authentic self. So that's the sad part about being queer in a Catholic-dominated countries like the Philippines.
But fortunately, although gradually they're starting to acknowledge the community for girls and the love that they deserve, there's actually a bill ongoing to prohibit discrimination. So that's good. But yeah, let's say hi to our friends, Chelsea and Tristan. Remember that you guys are loved and that we love you.
Yeah, we love you. But anyway, last time we had a conversation with Princess.
Hi, Princess.
And we found out that California is indeed liberated. A lot of Filipinos have this impression of the US, where all the citizens live their best and comfortable lives, which is why they dream of vacationing or even consider migrating.
So what do you guys think? Are we more different or the same than we initially thought?
If you have any insights, don't hesitate to share. Again, I am Venice.
And I am Doylene.
That's 5 minutes. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you all so much for your participation in this event. We will be closing up soon.
So we will go ahead and call Mrs. Alicia Valencia to do some closing remarks.
Hello. What else can I say? These days well worth the time and the effort for teachers, especially for our students, as well as for myself. It's been a great time and experience. All I can say is thank you on behalf of the Rizal Institute family. My heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Liza Erpelo of KLC, Dr. Raju Disay, Professor of Filipino, for all your effort. To Patricia, the FSU President, to Chiril, the Campus Ambassador for the Outreach Office, and to Cheska Dolor, the Kababayan Learning Community Counselor, FSU co-advisor, for being there from the inception to the realization of the symposium. Thank you to Ms. Rosdine Caraan for being the person in charge on the part of Rizal Institute, to Ms. Kiana Vitug and Ms. Jess Bugay for your assistance, and in general to the planning committee, participants, facilitators, and speakers from the FSU, Kababayan Learning Community, Skyline College, and the Rizal Institute. And of course, not to forget our very own and yours too, Mr. Ezekiel John Recto, aka Mr. Zik, in his relentless search for means to communicate with us despite the time difference, and for being the bridge why this wonderful activity is made possible. To you all from Skyline College, we hope to again see, if not all, at least some of you soon. And how I wish it would be face-to-face. Thank you so much. Mabuhay ang Skyline, mabuhay ang KLC, mabuhay ang FSU, at mabuhay ang JRI. Again, thank you, congratulations, and may God continue to keep us safe. Thank you. Bye.
And now we will be asking Francesca Atechesca to do some closing remarks and from the FSU side.
Yeah, on behalf of FSU at Skyline and Kababayan Learning Community, we just want to thank all of you from JRI for joining this space with us. I know I could speak for myself and the rest of us that it was such an enriching and enlightening experience to be able to connect with y'all from across the Pacific Ocean via the internet. What a great tool that we have to be able to connect with one another. You know, here in the United States, often it's really easy to feel isolated being Filipino, not feeling like there's a space for us. But it was just an amazing experience to be able to be with all of you and connect on the shared basis of our identity as Filipinos. Even though we're here in the US and y'all are there in the homeland, we were able to kind of see where our points of connection are and dispel different myths that we may think about people in the Philippines. People in the Philippines may think about us here in the United States, and just learn so much from all of you. And I hope you all learned a lot from us as well. Really hope that we can have a part 2 with breakout rooms of like an hour each. There was so much that was left unsaid, but I think we can all like put our social medias or emails in the chat so that we can get connected, or maybe the facilitators can kind of help facilitate the process of keeping these connections going.
Thank you so much for attending, you guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you, JRI. I miss you guys, my former students who are here. My colleagues, thank you. Thank you, everyone from Skyline, from Philly 120, Kababayan, FSU, Fulbright Philippines, Fulbright FLTA program, the Fulbright program, every sort of facet of the universe that I'm part of. Thank you. Okay. Good night, y'all.